She's the founder and CEO of Uyandiswa. She also sits on the board of Grindrod Bank, and she's a young, award-winning entrepreneur and project manager who has experience in the world of IT as well. She's also an author, having recently published a book called Baked in Pain. She joins me to chat about her entrepreneurial journey in the ICT space and board, and of course some of her work in corporate governance, and more importantly, we're also going to get a chance to speak about her book, and she joins us now here on Business Unusual. Siswam, kunjani?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming through. Let's maybe start off, I guess, with the business itself, and
Yes.
we'll come back to Amanda, the person. But
Yes.
how did the journey to Uyandiswa happen? What is Uyandiswa? And more importantly, what are some of the things you guys have achieved?
So I have always been an entrepreneur. I mean, since I was 23 years old, I started my first business.
Wow.
And I was selling flowers. I was doing flower arrangements. I've sold nail polish, handbags, shoes, you name it. But I've just always had businesses.
Sure.
And for me, it was a way out of what I called people deciding what your destiny is. I always had this idea that I must have multiple streams of income. So it was only just a matter of time before I graduated into big business.
Sure.
And I've also lost money along the way on franchises that didn't work out.
Let's talk about that, yeah. You know, and I'll tell you why this is in the siege.
Yeah.
A lot of people come on this platform, on Mama I Made It Friday,
Yeah.
and they only talk about the
About the
successes.
May, of course.
Let's talk about, that franchise that bombed out. We're talking about Grand Parade, Nosaki.
Yes, yes.
Dunkin' Donuts failed, Baskin Robbins failed. What failed for Amanda?
Well, the concept was great in the Johannesburg market, and I had moved to Cape Town, and I was living in Cape Town then. And I opened a nice linen store that was great. I spotted a gap, but then I also felt, you know, let me step into something bigger. And I bought into this franchise. It was a horrible, horrible failure in Cape Town. And I wasn't the only one. There were multiple of us, the franchisees, who had lost a lot of money in it. But there were multiple reasons for it, to be honest. Some of it were completely my own rookie mistakes.
School fees.
For example, absolute school fees. For example, it was in fact in what turned out to be a community with a lot of Muslim people, but I couldn't offer halal products, so that was very basic. But also there was really no support from the franchisor. And that for me was incredibly difficult to deal with. But you know, you learn, you move on, and do bigger things. And Uyandiswa for me is, you know, we essentially execute on clients' strategies. So we go in and we give them tangible deliverables through obviously a set of coordinated effort, you name it, methodologies and different methodologies. I mean, we're well versed in all of them. Our center is around IT because I mean, I literally grew up in IT, but around project management. But we do projects in any industry, in any sphere. And so for me, Uyandiswa was really that step up into big business. And 6 years later, I think we're doing really well. We're doing amazing things. Most of the financial services clients are our clients. We've got right across industries, not just financial services, fast-moving goods, oil and energy, you know, and we're starting to get into helping foundations with how they execute on their mandates. So some purposeful work as well.
Let's talk about the early days of setting up.
Yes.
You guys are clearly a professional services company, right?
Yeah.
And in that space, it's really about billable time.
Yes.
Right? You're billing for people's intellectual resources hour by hour, day by day.
Yes.
What does that look like in the early days? It's easier when you've got retainers and you've got clients and you really don't have to worry about cash flow.
Cash flow,
You know, put people on proposals to go and bid for the work.
Yes.
It's something entirely different when you're starting from day one.
Yeah.
And you're trying to pitch for work and you're trying to say, hey, this is what we have.
Oh yeah, I mean, I walked away from what was a really lucrative role in corporate as a chief information officer at a bank. And I was bold enough to say, I'm going to do it. I've got no plan B. I'm always the plan, you know. They say I am the plan. and first thing I did was to cash out money out of my pension fund, 80,000 rands to be precise. And I had to put that into the business to enable the business to get going. But that was really about selling the dream, selling the vision. And why I was going into business. And for me, going into business was about creating jobs, was about being at the forefront of solving this real problem in our nation. And I just couldn't stay in a corporate job anymore and feel comfortable and cushy when everybody around me was really struggling, and young people with degrees and the promise of, you know, education is your key to success. And that promise was failing our young people dismally, in fact. So what it looks like in the beginning, in the early stages, is really you're not sure that you're going to make this. And if your why is really what gets you going, you know, it's why are you in business. And I must be honest, I never doubted that I would succeed. Of course, I had to convince clients that you're not just buying from Amanda, you're now buying from a company called Uyandiswa. But actually, your credibility stands you in good stead, because, yes, they actually buy from the person first. And you first show them that actually the company itself is starting to employ real people, good people. And it's beyond an Amanda. But of course, you need money.
It's an entire machine that's emerging on its own.
And you need money to do that, you know. But I must say we were incredibly fortunate I set up partnerships right up front. Let me put it that way, so that if I've got a piece of work and I don't yet have the capacity,
you collaborate with somebody
I collaborate with people, and I continue to do that. I mean, we've got quite a huge workforce now. When I say huge, for a small company, we at about 90 odd people. So we are quite.
From how many people, Guran?
This one.
It was just you.
It was just me. But from the start, I set out not to do delivery work or be caught up in the work of
doing that.
I was dead set on setting up and running an organization that would completely run independently of me, so that I can continue to grow it through relationships, nurturing networks. So yeah, it's been quite a ride. It's been incredibly exciting. So that initial stage is probably the most testing, because you don't know if you're going to be signing new clients. But if you don't have that belief, if you think that you are scared to even try, then maybe you should stay where you are.
Yeah, no, definitely. I often ask entrepreneurs in this slot to maybe give us a timeline sense just of their turnover. I mean, when you were starting, putting that 80,000 of your own savings into this, I'm quite interested in what you managed to turn over in that first year. And what that looks like now, you know, 6 years later. And you don't have to give us the exact amounts, but I mean, just the ballpark figures.
Yeah, people mustn't start thinking I'm rich and stop spending with us. It's turnover of the company. It's not Amanda's net worth. We actually, we were quite fortunate in the sense that we got involved. ABSA has been running big enterprise development and supplier development programs. So they onboarded us as a supplier development, firstly in enterprise development partner as part of their program. So we got a piece of work that we had signed up and we were yet to deliver. So out of credibility, of course, and you know, all sorts of legal agreements to make sure you deliver, they could pay us immediately for the projects we're still going to do. So I'd say in the first year of operation, which was a couple of months, it wasn't a full 12-month cycle, we turned over 15 million. And then the next year we turned over 28 million. Then we were at 30-something million. Then we were hitting 49 million. And by year 3, in fact, we had kind of 2 financial year ends, because I then joined Adapt IT as an enterprise development partner, and we had to change our year end. But let me just say, in a nutshell, by year 3, we did an acquisition from Adapt IT, which was a business intelligence division of theirs. So it was quite a nice supporting service to project managers.
That had synergies, of course.
Oh, absolutely.
What you were really doing,
But strategically, I was really after the clients that they had amassed. I mean, they listed companies. So instead of me spending years and years building that organically, I acquired it. And that put us at about 100 million turnover after 3 years, but of course with a lot of debt to pay that back. And after a while, we obviously had to rationalize some of that business that we had bought over, which is the hardest thing to do, right? Because 100 million is a big ego trip as well for an entrepreneur. But we had to rationalize. Some of it was UK-based business that was not priced correctly. So you know, we were paying that the supplier or the partner in pounds, but it was priced in rands, which didn't make sense at all.
Which also, I guess, I would think opened you up to some currency risk as well.
Of course, yeah. And to be honest, it was a great learning, but we're back at those kind of levels now anyway. So, yeah.
All right. Certainly an interesting journey there, and we're going to take a brief break shortly. But I want us, when we come back, to now speak about Amanda the person.
Yes.
I want us to take a look at the book as well. I've heard some raving reviews about the book.
Yes.
So I want you to also talk to us about, I guess, the creative process of writing the book, what writing the book meant for you as Amanda, and also what that meant for you as Amanda the business woman as well.
Okay, sure.
I'm in conversation with Amanda Dambuza. She's the CEO and founder of Uyandiswa. And remember, you can engage with us on social media. Ask us your questions and tell us what you think on the socials. Our hashtag is #BusinessUnusual, #Newzroom405. And you can send through those tweets on our official handle on @405business_.
I'm nervous. It's okay to be nervous on your first day, but you'll make lots of friends. And I'll be here when you get back. With iWise Life Insurance, I provide for my family.
Get 1 million rand cover from just 189 rand per month with iWise Life Insurance. For a quote, SMS live to 48853.
ABSA customers registered for cell phone